platform. It's like a private Facebook or LinkedIn for brands and communities who want to share important information with their existing customer communities. And it's all about building stronger relationships to reduce attrition or loss, right? With a lot of the brands that we work with, they're membership-based businesses, and one of their biggest challenge, other than acquiring customers, is how do you keep a customer retained? How do you get to keep a customer to buy from you again? Depending on your business model, it can be very important to make sure that we are keeping our existing customers happy and getting them to continue to purchase from us. There's a lot of studies that actually show that a lot of our profit comes from a small base of customers that are loyal and happy. And that's not necessarily because they continue to buy from over and over, but there are organic salespeople. They're the people who are telling other people about us because they're happy with our service. Recommendations and referrals are still the top way of, especially in service-based businesses, bringing in more leads and sales into your business. So we work with a variety of community types, from online to real world during non-COVID, from people like Athena, which is a business network, to Premier League football clubs. But across all of these different communities, creating a customer engagement and retention strategy is super important. And so tonight I'm going to go through some of the top tips that I'm teaching, not to them, but also I'm learning from all the organizations which we work, because we work with some really dynamic organizations that have, hundreds and thousands of customers that they're able to retain in their various models. And so why should we focus essentially on customer retention? So the chances of selling to an existing customer is 60 to 70% higher, whilst the probability of selling to a new prospect is 5 to 20% today. So I've been reading some interesting statistics on Facebook and the usage of Facebook over the last, during COVID and lockdown. Now, obviously, everyone probably could predict that usage has skyrocketed, right? We are going onto Facebook in bigger and bigger numbers for longer and longer periods of time. And a lot of the studies that I've so far found on this topic is that people are finding and using Facebook as a source of news. So they're reading articles, they're checking in, obviously, with family, but more than anything, they're using it as a space to learn about what's going on in the world, in addition to any groups and other activities that they're doing. So a lot of us, especially small business owners, are using social media as a lead generator, right? We're building groups, we're building pages, whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook. And the cost of acquiring a customer, even if it's just your own time, is much, much higher than reselling to somebody you've already built some trust with. Think about yourself as a consumer. How much does it take you to buy from a new product or service? How do you make a customer, a purchase decision? And if you're happy with the service, how many times are you happy to repurchase? I can use some basic examples of like shampoo or other, household products. Once I know I like a brand, I tend to stick with it. I tend to not change unless something fundamentally goes wrong with that product, or if I have a problem with customer service, if I need to call them for whatever reason. But generally, for a lot of brands, we have quite a strong customer to brand loyalty. And in service-based businesses, I think this is even bigger because, for example, if I'm looking for an accountant, I might do that search every couple of years. And then once I get a rapport with someone, again, unless they make a big error, I'm going to stick with that person. So, there's a huge cost of acquiring new customers, whereas, retaining and making profit from your existing customers is a very good strategy to make sure you're focusing on. Now, the tips I'm going to cover, so this is a snapshot of tonight's tips, is everything from measuring your customer lifetime value. If any of these things are you want follow-ups or a bit more explanation after this evening, please feel free to email me on what is a customer lifetime value, how to measure it, how to create that, what is a high value customer. So I'm going to share that obviously as I go through each tip in detail. But even when we started Eugenie and someone said to me, "What's your customer acquisition cost?" I was like, what does that mean? I mean, in theory, I understand, right? It's how much it costs me to get a new customer into my business. But essentially, I was leaving big variables out, such as my own time. So if I'm not putting my time into the equation and I'm saying, look, this Facebook ad is converting and I'm bringing in a lead for £5 and then it's costing me £30 to actually, convert that into an active customer, and I'm not factoring in my own time, which it might be 5-10 hours, then I haven't actually understood what it's costing me to get that customer into my business. So I can, if anybody has questions on any of these that are a bit more in depth, feel free to email me. So my top tip as well, before we jump into the kind of more nitty gritty, is keeping it human. especially right now, right? I mean, I reached out to all of our customers at Eugenie and I said, what can we do for you, right? It's not necessarily, some of them, have said, look, Susan, we really can't afford to pay you right now because our business model is on real world events and we can't charge for that. So all of a sudden our business has gone to zero or very little. What can we do? Because we're using the platform very much, actually, even more right now, to keep connected with our customers and our communities. But obviously, cash flow is an issue. So we've given some of them deferments. Some of them we've said, we can reduce the invoice. What can you afford to pay right now? And I know I can say that because I have the luxury of being able to give people breaks at the moment. Not every business is in that position, but we're doing what we can as we can do it. Asking how their business has been affected by COVID and if your product or service can be tweaked, if there's something else that you could offer them that might be more valuable right now versus what they might have originally come on to hire you for. And again, maybe they've pivoted their business as well. So maybe their business now is, for me, for example, all my business networks are online. So how can I support these people who used to meet once a month in the real world, who are now meeting online, and how can we pivot and support them for that? What we've been doing is sharing our resources with their communities so that they have more content to share. So, keeping it human as well doesn't discount your value. It might even just be that, how are you doing right now? And maybe you need nothing from me. Maybe right now you just need me to leave you alone, right? And I did a survey recently where I sent out to all of our existing customers a survey with 4 questions, with 4 ways that we could support them. So also to not overwhelm people right now, because we're all being bombarded with a lot of stuff. And one of the options that we put in there was, we don't want anything from you right now. We really just want to be left alone. We're going to kind of go on furlough, and we're going to, this is our position. We're homeschooling the kids. And so at the moment we just, we kind of need a break from anything, and that's okay too, right? So we're just doing what we feel they need from us. So if we jump into the tips now, I will check the chat at the end and make sure that I go through it, and feel free to, add things into the chat as of who you are. If you'd like to share even your thoughts and experiences, we can always all learn from each other as well. So tip number 1, measure the lifetime value of a customer. And what this is understanding from end to end what you're making from a customer. So that, the value. And this is going to include what they're paying you for the product or service, either the first time, the second time, etc. You have to look at things of how long they're going to be with you, how much they're going to buy from you. And a lot of times we can't figure this out with only 1 or 2 people. It does take us getting, a set of customers before we can understand the average lifetime value. But we also then need to factor in the cost of acquiring each of our customers. Essentially, if you are not earning as much from your customer in the length of time they're with you than it costs you to acquire them, your business will never be profitable. So if it's costing you £100 to acquire a new customer or bring someone into your business from a marketing or admin perspective, but your product only costs 50 and it's a one-time buy, you're at a £50 loss. And you're never going to be able to catch up. So, I know there's a lot of businesses, and we hear these things like Ubers that try to build, acquire, even though they're not making money. These guys are raising millions and millions of pounds, which a lot of us don't have access to. So our business models have to be on making sure that our cost of acquisition and our lifetime value, there's more lifetime value than there is in the cost it takes us to get that person. And then identifying high value customers. So in no way am I saying that we should not treat all of our customers in the same way. We should give good customer service, make sure we're taking care of everyone. But there are going to be certain customers that are going to be more valuable to your business. I mean, if you've got a customer who's going to give you a 30,000 pound contract versus someone who's a 200 pound contract, I mean, we do need to start looking at how to support that larger contract versus something that's smaller. And I'm not saying that that's not great customer service for everyone, but there might be things that you can automate for the lower value customers and give more of your real time and real world support with those higher value ones. But also, it's not just about price, it's about influence. Because again, if your business model is about, let's say, getting another 5 or 6 of those high value customers, you want to make sure that they're really happy so that they can recommend you and refer you to other people that are like them. So, there's a whole nother session on business model objectives, metrics, and things, but really understanding who your high value customers are. And if you have limited time, then take care of them. Make sure that you are there for them and you are not losing them. And sometimes You know, I did a session on Saturday for a female accelerator, and we were talking about product market fit. There might be some people who don't fit into your business model at some stage as well. I think it's okay to let some people go, right? If you can no longer serve someone, there are businesses that Eugenie is no longer the right fit for, or is not the right fit because we built other features and that these guys were waiting for. And ultimately that customer and that their experience will be better if I let them go. They'll still feel like we gave them good service and we cared about them, and we didn't just care about taking money from them. So sometimes it can also be about letting people go. In terms of, you know, the benefits of giving really good customer service in terms and using a digital way to do it. So tip 3, we're going to start taking a look at you know, building a community essentially. So whether that's Facebook, WhatsApp, Slack, Eugenie, whatever platform that you might use. Tip 3 is building a community of customers who are engaged and interact with your business really helps the bottom line. And so we're going to go through branded communities are creating a kind of a participatory experience for your customers. So it's not just you having to talk to them all the time. If you get loyal brand ambassadors in that community, they can talk about how great you are and they can start becoming an ambassador. Of course, it's also, you know, can be free marketing for you. And a lot of this stuff is digital anyway. You know, we do have quite a lot of community building and technology available to us that can be used, which is free. So again, but don't forget your time isn't free. So what are some of the benefits of building a customer community? So you have reduced customer support costs. 49% of businesses with online communities report a cost saving of 10 to 25%. And again, this is because I could go into the group, I might find frequently asked questions, I might ask a question of another person in the community, and they can start supporting each other. There's a boosted brand exposure and credibility, making it easier to sell without selling. And so again, it's just that creating that kind of ambassador level people supporting you. 67% of businesses also use their communities for insights for new products and services. So every single time we're doing very much demand development at the moment. And what that means is I am asking my customer base what feature they want to see next from Eugenie, right? So not we're deciding what we think is best for them. We're allowing them to tell us, you know, either qualitatively or quantitatively what we should build next. And the web version of Eugenie that's coming out this week is all because customer demand. Everybody wanted a web version. I mean, we've expedited it because of COVID, because now we're all on our laptops, not necessarily all on the phone. But you know, it's been very much demand driven. And then the next feature is going to be live streaming, because at the moment you can't live stream in Eugenie, but we know that because of Zooming and Facebook Lives and things, especially right now, it's a really important feature. So the other thing is, you know, when we're talking about people who are not happy and taking a look at communities, they can also be have the other side of it. So if we are creating a negative customer experience, then they can also spread the word quite quickly. So it kind of all comes hand in hand, right? That if you're going to build that community, you also need to make sure that you nurture it, retain it, so that you don't have those negative experiences that people will share about. We always remember the negative. We don't always remember the positive. So tip 4, using planning and automation to re-engage your customers. And I think one of the biggest mistakes we definitely see across small businesses, and not just our own customers, but I work with a lot of digital consultancy clients as well, is the idea that once someone buys from me, I don't have to resell them. And, you know, if anybody who already does this really well, you know, in any of these steps, actually, maybe a lot of you are already doing this stuff, but the automation to re-engage your existing customers. So, you know, they bought from you once. When is the next time they're going to hear from you? So let's just say it is a service. Like today, let's say today was a paid webinar. Would I be following up with you after today with the slides? I will. I'll send everyone the slides. I'll send everyone the replay. Anyone that registered actually will get the replay. But then also, do I re-engage with you in a month to say, look, we're doing another webinar that is similar, or here's another thing that you might find interesting. Of course, taking into account, you know, GDPR and Eventbrite and the data regulations, but how do we re-engage with customers, giving them an opportunity to buy from us? And a lot of that can be done with automation. So whether, you know, if you're a Google user, even if you don't have a CRM, if you just create, you know, a scheduled email, I use a tool on Google, which is I have a CRM and I use that, of course, but I also have on Google a plug-in to my Chrome, which allows me to schedule Google emails. So I might have a call today with someone, you know, a lead, and then, or sorry, an existing customer, and I know I want to check in with them next month. I will schedule that email or schedule that meeting. So again, using automation, especially as we start to get more and more customers, to try to re-engage our customers and keep them talking to us. And it can be as simple as an Excel spreadsheet. So this is one of the things that we use with some of our clients who, are not using CRMs and kind of just want to keep things really simple. Essentially, this is an Excel spreadsheet where we say, what are we going to share with people within the community across the various types of things? When do we want to share it? And you can keep it really simple. So some of the tech out there is, can be advanced. It scares me even. I'm still learning how to use Zapier at the moment to try to connect some of our tech, and definitely didn't do it right. My digital marketer is saying, each webinar, so every time someone registers on an Eventbrite, they're tagged and put into our database so that we can, again, share relevant content with you, not everything, but relevant things to tonight. And I created a Zap that was wrong, and it was creating 50 entries for each person that registered. So, even we're learning here, I'm learning quite a lot at Eugenie. Things can be as simple as you need them to be, but if you can start to automate stuff, especially to make sure you're engaging with existing customers, it will definitely help make them feel connected to you. Tip 5, so responding to customers quickly, but within limits. And, I think, quick, fast, authentic responses are very, very important. One of the quickest ways I've seen, especially in our membership communities, where it is hard to get customers to change behavior. And if they're going to come in and join a group of yours, for example, or email you, and you're not quick to respond, well, one, the response might be irrelevant by the time you respond to them, and they might have already been a bit frustrated in that time. But ultimately as well, you can resolve something. It might just be a misunderstanding, and they see that kind of quick response and say, okay, well, you know what, I appreciate that. And for Eugenie's case, there was a small bug, but you got back to me so fast. Really appreciate that. And on the other side of the limit is, how quickly the automation can help you do that. So you can set up an out of office when you're not in the office to say, we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Here might be a couple of resources. If you've got some common questions people ask, you can put that into your automation. But also, I haven't always been the best about putting limits myself. So if someone emails me at like 10 o'clock at night, I tend to just try to respond very quickly. But then what happens is when I don't respond, all of a sudden my customer service has gone down. Now, was it fair for everyone to expect me to respond at 10 o'clock or on a Saturday or a Sunday? Maybe it's not fair, but because I've done it, now everyone has come to expect it, which means it's very difficult for me to pull back without looking like I'm not giving as good service. So I think setting those expectations for your customers, whether that's with an automated response or just a time frame that, I'm available during this time, and I'm also available on this platform. I've heard a lot of people who are getting customers WhatsApping them. And one of the challenges I heard in another one of my groups was, well, if they WhatsApp me, they can see that I'm online, that I read it. And if I don't respond, I feel like I might lose that customer. So I know we're all going through this, kind of big transition with more and more technology, especially with WhatsApp, with that real-time banter and people. I'm definitely getting a lot more WhatsApps that could be emails because I know people expect me to respond faster. And I think I do, but I can only do that so much. As my WhatsApp list gets longer, well, I'm also missing things. So, letting people know when you're going to respond and how you're going to respond or where they should contact you helps you kind of automate some of those processes. In terms of the most important elements of ideal customer service, 47% will say that fast response to inquiries and complaints is one of the top things that they look at in terms of ideal customer experience, right? So, in addition to simple purchasing processes, that's the whole kind of acquiring. Amazon has done so well with the simple one click, but also how quickly do we respond and resolve people's frustrations is one of the top ways that they're assessing us in terms of our customer experience. Number 6. Now, right now, this can be, I think you can do this all the time, but offering customer service surprises. So, ultimately maybe launching something that you can do that doesn't cost anything right now, depending on what your cash flow is. In a normal circumstance, you can budget for something and say, every month I'm going to send out this free gift. It might be, for us, it's an engagement guide. It might be, we're going to give you guys a bonus webinar, whatever that might be that they're not expecting, that's on top of what they're buying from you, is that little bit of extra that people really appreciate. And, again, a lot of stats show that people are now differentiating small businesses on the level of customer service that they're giving. And that's how we can actually differentiate ourselves from our competition. But right now, I know that budgets and cash flow can be quite tight and we don't necessarily have any money. So what can you do you know, with Canva and Zoom? Is it a webinar? Is it a 2-page kind of tip guide? Is it just a collection of what's the best practices of going on in your industry? There's another brand we're talking to right now who is not doing webinars themselves, but for their membership is coming up with a collection of the best things going on in their space and sending that out on a weekly basis so people can go and join the things that, you know, and so that's not necessarily a surprise, but it is something that they're doing to do that. Now, if we look at, you know, motivation of what makes people work harder, this is a kind of a pivot, which is on employees. So if you're managing people right now as well, who are very crucial in your customer service as well, especially if they're customer facing, is, you know, gifts, surprises, and appreciation. It motivates people to work harder and to want to work harder for you. So if anyone is having any cash flow issues with employees, I'm doing a cash flow webinar in a couple of weeks where we'll talk a little bit more about you know, various ways of managing cash flow at the moment. So tip 7, train your customers with educational emails and webinars. And I definitely see a lot of people doing this, from fitness trainers to people like us, right? We're pushing out a lot of training, educational emails and webinars. Now, the cadence of it and how many is helpful before becoming overwhelming is something you need to ask your own customer community. And also you can measure with their behavior. Do they show up? Do they not show up? But by giving additional educational information for that particular niche. And I mean, this all comes back to as well, you know, ideal clienting and making sure that you have the right customers in your database and the people you're serving so that everything that you do is really relevant for them. And ask them. I think it is important to ask them, say, like, do you want this on email? Do you want a webinar? Would you like a Facebook group? You know, how can we better support you and deliver some of this additional value? Newsletters are still a great way for growing and maintaining relationships. And even during times when people aren't making purchasing decisions. So it may be that you don't want to do a webinar. You would like to, was talking to another one of our clients earlier today, and I said, why don't you introduce a webinar, a Zoom time? And she said, I just don't feel comfortable on camera. So she's going to go down the route of just really upping a lot of value in her newsletters. And email marketing is still one of the top ways of selling today, whether it's to new customers or existing ones. So we get a lot of, you know, upsells and upgrades via our email campaigns and not anything else. So it is important to do that. And it can, again, you can start simple. So if anybody has any questions on how to set any of this up, again, you can feel free to reach out. Tip 8, it's the live webinars to educate and inspire. And I've created this separately because you know, again, those of you that know me, we do quite a lot of live events with Eugenie in real life, meeting people, connecting, collaborating, and that's the value of what we do. But it's all about building those relationships. And again, I think right now, especially if you were, let's say, a new business that was just starting and now you need to be building relationships so that people will buy from you. People don't buy from day one, right? I mean, I think there's a fallacy out there that just because we have all this access to like social media, Instagram, Facebook, you know, anybody who's tried it will tell you it's hard. It's hard to get people from even posting quite a lot on Facebook to convert into a customer. But if you can get them into a space where they're going to talk to you and get to know you, especially if you're a service-based business, you know, caveat there, of course, products are very different. But in a service-based model, how can you educate and inspire customers through live sessions? So not just the kind of stuff you can send out. 9, collaborate with other brands to offer packages of value. So who within your network, who within maybe potentially your customers themselves, who else can you collaborate with at the moment and offer a package that gives you access to their network, gives them access to yours. So there is a bit of obviously sharing there and collaboration, but it might be that, you know, again, I was talking to I run a women's peers mastermind and they sell tea. And could you package that up with biscuits or another brand that's selling chocolate and kind of sell that together as a collective offering, which again helps grow your, or it's that we're gifting each other, in the sense of retention, each other's product and service. So, you know, I might be able to give you a couple, you know, 300 bags of tea that you can share with your biscuit customers, and can you share some of your biscuits with me to give to my customers. And again, we're surprising our customers with some value, but also creating an opportunity to help another business. And collaborations, I am a very, very strong believer, and that's how we kind of grow in this world. Finally, before we open it up for Q&A, any sort of thoughts, happy for you guys to share your experiences. Just be kind to yourself. It's a hard time right now. You know, not everyone can afford to pay, not everyone can afford to give, you know, their service out for free, depending on, you know, if your entire salary pays the rent. And I know, you know, over the last couple of weeks, we've gotten quite a lot of some support, not as much for startups, I will say, than other people, but you know, I think it's about being kind to us. If people are unable to, we can't retain them. You know, there's a certain amount of people that just won't be able to pay you, and there's nothing you can do about that. So, you know, to a certain extent, there's only so much that we can do. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the comments and see if there's any questions, or if there's just things that we can learn from your guys' comments. So yeah, I think, yeah, Lawrence, a lot of the face-to-face networking that I have is moved to online, generally all going well. I will say that I think people are starting to get to a level of zoomed out. I don't know, maybe it's just me. I'm finding it that I'm behind this computer all day, every day. There's actually more people on the Zoom calls than I can ever organically connect with. When I'm in the real world, I can have those 4 or 5 conversations and start building relationships. And it's a bit more difficult for me in the Zooms because there's 35, 45 people. How do I start kind of building that one-to-one? I can't do a one-to-one with 45 people. So yeah, I think it's interesting what's going on with that. I think proactive, so Rashina is saying that it's super important to be proactive with customers, but not respond quickly out of fear. That's harm. Yeah, I totally agree. I think we do need to set boundaries and expectations, and also sometimes just think through the response, right? Sometimes I'll do that, and I'll respond really quickly because I want to try to be very helpful and think, oh, why did I respond in that way? Also, maybe my brain, I was doing something else, and I completely agree with you. And the final comment here is the sales funnel during COVID-19 has changed. I agree with that as well. I mean, we've had to, you know, a lot of our business, as you may know, is has been coming from going out there, networking, people learning about us, and organic referrals. So I'm not a tech company that's just said, let's get millions of pounds and go about it that way. I really want to build a product that people find useful, and I can only do that with building real relationships with our customers. But now I can't do that. So we do have to go down the digital route. And we did some testing of Facebook ads last year to give you guys a sense. I know this is off topic now, but we did some testing of Facebook ads, and we spent like £3,000 over a 6-week period. Did we get a lot of traffic to the website? Yes. Did we get any conversions? No. Now there could be a lot of reasons why that happened. It could be that the website isn't converting and there's something wrong on the website. It could be our product. It could be our ad. There's so many things, because with Facebook ads, we have to learn from what doesn't work as much as what does work. And so now we have to go back to, to Facebook. We have some data, but still not that much to understand what's going to work for us from a customer acquisition point of view. But I agree. I mean, the sales funnel at the moment is probably, what we said is let's throw our business plan a little bit out the window and see how we can be relevant right now in COVID. So is there any questions? Does anybody have any specific questions on any of the tips, anything that you'd like to share with anyone else, or a specific challenge in your own business that you could use a little bit of a deep dive for?
Do you just want me to start talking?
Yeah, so I've got a question here, so I'll go with that one first. So retaining existing customers and how to broach the conversation. So it would be helpful, Rashina, if we knew if you're happy to share, and you can do it here or we can do it one-to-one, on what you do as well. And what, hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
I'm just going to take my video off on.
Okay.
Sorry. Hi.
Hello.
Nice to see you all. So
what I'll do is I'll turn the recording off at this point as well, so we can talk a bit without recording.
Yeah, so I am a copywriter